What's happening, folks? Back with another music video reaction, and this one is a bit random, sort of a lucky dip from my own history, which is to say, when I was a single-digit kid in the 80s, my mom and my older sister used to listen to K-Rock a lot, KROQ 106.7 FM, a radio station that still exists here in Southern California, but I think it's a very different entity today than it was back in the 80s, and indeed, back in the 80s, it was one of the only stations that played a lot of British and European synth pop. And so once I got into Depeche Mode, people who follow this channel and my YouTube will know that Depeche Mode is one of my first musical loves, the first music I bought on my own. And once I started following them and discovered through, again, my sister and my mom, that K-Rock often played Depeche Mode, as well as eventually Erasure and Yazoo and a lot of these groups that I grew up listening to, I started paying attention to K-Rock on the weekends when they would do these mixes. And so I would use my old school radio/tape player to record the mixes on K-Rock on Friday and Saturday nights. But at the end of the mixes, it wasn't like they said, oh, here's all the tracks you just heard in order. It was just, you either recognize the track or not. And I ended up getting a lot of tracks on tape that I liked a lot, but I didn't really know anything about who they were by and even what the name of the song was. And again, as a single-digit kid and the pre-internet days, my resources to discover these things was very limited. So it was only years later that I discovered one of the tunes on one such recorded mix on a cassette tape I had was called What's on Your Mind, and then parenthetically Pure Energy by Information Society. Now even today I don't really know much about Information Society, so I could have done a full Google or Wikipedia deep dive before this, but I figured I'd just jump into it. So again, it's a bit of a lucky dip even now, and even knowing what this song is, but for many years it was just a cool song on a mixtape that I had back from, I'm going to guess, the mid-80s, maybe 86, 87. I want to say it had to have been at least 86, because I have this lingering memory that on this same mix that I recorded, there was also an Erasure tune, and their first album was 86. So my best guess is that this is from 86 or later. Ultimately, it has that classic 80s sound. I do remember, though, and I thought of this earlier because someone at my work said, what's on your mind? And it just sort of flashed into my head, and I was like, oh, I want to know what you're thinking. I just sort of launched into one of the lines. It was like, oh man, I gotta go see if there's a video for that. So I typed the song title into YouTube and I was able to find it. So my memory of the tune is that it has some wicked guitar, some really edgy, metallic almost sounding guitar, so maybe that's the Pure Energy, but ultimately I don't really know anything about the group, so those who do, feel free to comment. But let's go ahead and watch this video. This is for Information Society, What's on Your Mind, Pure Energy, and it's the official music video.
It's worked so far, but we're not out yet.
I wanna know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I wanna know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Pure energy.
So I'll just comment briefly. I was not prepared for the, bright and crazy colors. That's very much to be expected in 80s music videos, but the oversized prop instruments I was not prepared for. Also, there's a bit of an electro feel at the start there, a bit of a 80s breakdancing type of feel, as opposed to just a straightaway 4/4 to the floor synth pop track. So yeah, the opening here, it sort of comes back. Certainly those vocals, those vocals are forever burned into my mind since I was a kid, but this sonic opening was a bit different from what I was recalling.
Pure energy. Pure energy.
I find myself alone again, all alone with you. I can see behind your eyes the things that I don't know. If you hide away from me, how can our love grow? I wanna know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I wanna know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind. I know I could break you down, but what good would it do?
So number one, I like the quasi-industrial sounds. We had a bit of a like metal hammer type of percussion rhythm. And again, I can't get over these ridiculous props and the a bit exaggerated manner in which the players are using them. Though I do have to say that the lead singer, he reminds me of like if you mixed maybe Vince Clarke with Roland Orzabal. He has a bit of like the Vince energy with his serious face and his wild hair, but then the dance moves are reminding me a bit of Roland. But yeah, the lyrics too, like, knowing that something is behind someone's eyes, but you want to hear it, you have to have them articulate it, and then saying like, look, I could break it down, I could do this analysis, but what good would that do? So there's a desire to have the other person specifically articulated, even if he thinks he has insight without them speaking.
I know I could break you down, but what good would it do? I could surely never know that what you say is true. Here I am in silence, it's a game I have to play. You and I in silence, with nothing else to say. I wanna know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I wanna know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Pure energy.
Lead singer really has a vibe. He's got that stare. He just looks right into the camera like, what? But yeah, so I didn't remember that cool interlude with that sort of string synth type melody. That was fantastic. And I was thinking this is almost the opposite of Enjoy the Silence, right? That's like, man, words, you don't even need them. If you really understand, words can only mess it up. And, if you're in someone's company and you feel them in that way, then you don't even need to talk. Silence is great. And this one's the opposite. It's like, what are we doing? Like, we're just sitting here in silence, just you and me, and I guess we have to play this game because you won't tell me what's on your mind. So it really has a very distinct and almost opposite sentiment of one of my favorite Depeche Mode tunes. So, but yeah, I love that interlude.
Thinking there are some things you can't hide. I wanna know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Pure energy. Pure energy.
Destruction.
So I have to remark on their outfits, like, and in this moment, I don't know, like, are they English? That was my estimation going into this, but I wonder if maybe they're American. Either way, the lead singer is dressed like a British synth pop artist from the mid 80s. You know, he has that, like, he's in a nice looking suit, but he also looks like he's a bit of a rebel. You know, his hair is very unconventional and so on. And then you have the lady with the prop violin, I think it is. You know, she looks like she's almost in like a workout video from the 80s, but again, sort of like tongue in cheek. Then the drummer looks like he's a b-boy from the 80s in New York City and that he break dances. And then the other guy has these sort of like wild striped shorts on and he looks like he should be out on a beach somewhere. So they like visually, aesthetically, they're kind of all over the place, but I like their energy. And ultimately, I do think it's a great song. Like, you know, pardon the language, but that's a fucking banger. 40 plus years later, it's better than I remembered, and it's a mixture. Like, again, it has this sort of breakbeat, breakdancing feel in the intro, and then in that section where it really strips down in the latter stages. But then the verses still have that like 80s European slash UK synth pop type feel, as does the chorus. So yeah, just a really interesting one, and even better than I was remembering. So I'm hoping some of you here on Patreon, and eventually maybe this will be over on YouTube. Again, the degree to which I can put music video reactions on YouTube is much more complicated and unreliable given how often they get blocked. But yes, those of you who know anything about Information Society, or maybe at least, you know, this song more than an immediate viewing would suggest, do let me know. But yeah, this one was just sort of, it popped into my head given something that a person said at my work, and I felt like I had to add this to the video session that I was planning to do tonight. So in any case, let me know what you think of this one, and I will see you next time. Peace.